You guys all set up? Okay. So this was a very productive day on just a common sense issue. It's an issue where in Texas, listen, we've already signed 2 laws banning men and women's sports. What happened today, however, was setting a standard for the United States of America, ripping apart the executive order that was put in place by Joe Biden that was completely lawless, in fact, overturned by a court, but also establishing just a very common sense standard, and that is no men and women's sports. This is a nonpartisan, bipartisan issue that the overwhelming majority of Americans support, and I and governors and other officials from across the country, as well as women across the country, are so proud of President Trump for stepping up and signing this executive order today. Take a few questions.
Governor Abbott, can you talk more about your conversation with President Trump and Tom Homan earlier this morning? What were topics discussed and what role will Texas play?
So listen, Tom Homan and I stay in touch quite often, and we talk about strategies that we may use or ways that we can work together, and I'll just leave it at that. With regard to the president, we again talked about what was maybe the most pivotal issue in his campaign, the one that Americans wanted to make sure he got elected on, and that it was securing the border. First, we talked about how successful it was, how much illegal immigration has dropped in the state of Texas to just a mere trickle. Then we talked about other things that we're doing. Texas has completed more than 50 miles of border wall. We're going to be adding another about 20 miles of border wall here in the coming days. It's under construction right now, and we've acquired more than 100 miles of easement. I'll let the president know that all of that is available for the United States of America. Texas built 2 military bases that can house 2,000 soldiers in one base, 400 soldiers in another base. I made sure the president know that was available to him. I let the president know that we have identified 4,000 jail cells in the state of Texas that can be used as detention facilities. So we're just continuing to find ways we can assist the Trump administration in finally securing our border.
Governor, did you ask him about the $11 billion reimbursement for Operation Lone Star?
Sure.
Did he offer to help you get that money?
Yeah, so listen, I brought up the topic as I have both with Speaker Johnson, with members of Congress. I'll be back again next week to talk more about that with members of Congress. But yeah, he understands that in part, this is in a way a real estate transaction because Texas can transfer to the United States of America a value of well over $5 or $6 billion of real assets on the ground that Texas put in place that will continue to secure the United States for decades to come.
Did any of the flights to Guantanamo leave from Texas?
I have no information about that.
Can you expound on the $5 to $6 billion? Is that land or?
You know, so on the border wall itself, more than 50 miles, and adding the 20 miles we're working on right now. No, this is during the past 4 years. So what Texas is seeking is reimbursement to the state of Texas of about $11 billion of costs incurred over the past 4 years because of the unprecedented illegal crossings that took place that has never before happened. And what Texas did, we've already finished 56 miles of border wall. We have under construction another 18 miles of border wall. We've acquired and in the process of finishing the acquisition of more than 100 miles of land for more than 100 miles of more border wall. Those are real tangible real estate assets for the federal government. It's the same wall that Trump built. So it's the same specifics, same schematics, all that. And so it's turning over an asset that the Trump administration or the United States of America would have invested in. But it's more than that. For the next 4 years, for the United States of America to have a physical location, a base of operation. One is in Eagle Pass, another is in Del Rio, where the United States of America can use about 2,500 beds for, it could be military, it could be for Border Patrol, it could be for ICE agents, whatever the case may be. That is there for them to be able to use. Also, the state of Texas is offering 4,000 prison cells at no cost to the United States that they will be able to use for at least the next 4 years or longer than that if it's needed. And so there are ways in which there's valuable real estate that can be transferred ownership from the state of Texas to ownership to the United States of America. And that the value of that is close to $6 billion.
Did he go for that deal? Is he going to
He understood exactly what he was talking about. Listen, he has to talk to his advisors. He has to talk to Congress, just like I do.
And Governor, can you confirm if Mexican troops have arrived at the border and what you have seen? Any progress on that?
Yeah. I personally have not seen them. I know that the announcement has been made about the Mexican troops going to the border. I can tell you what I've seen in the past, and that is whenever Mexico does send troops to the border, it has an immediate impact, an immediate reduction in the number of people crossing the border illegally. And I just have to assume that this will replicate this, and this could even be larger because in the past I've seen 1,000 or 2,000, not 10,000. If they do that, it'll have an enormous impact, and we will see an almost immediate elimination of any illegal border crossings.
Have you spoken to Congress concerning your reimbursement request so far? And have you spoken to any appropriators? What was their response like so far?
Sure. So I have sat down with the Speaker and the Speaker's office and had the opportunity to visit with all the key leaders of the Texas Republican delegation, which is the largest Republican delegation in Congress. And many of those are involved either in appropriations or budget and things like that. And they are enthusiastically working with their fellow members. I have reports back from them about, listen, this is something that Republicans in particular across the country, but there's no reason why it should be partisan. People are excited about helping out because they know the fact I'm about to tell you. Texas law enforcement have seized more than 600 million deadly doses of fentanyl. Texas law enforcement alone has seized more than enough fentanyl to kill every man, woman, and child in the United States, Canada, and Mexico combined. Here's the point. None of us know, and will never know, how many lives were saved because of Texas law enforcement getting that fentanyl off the streets before it got into other states, killing people across the country.
Sir,
Last question.
Reports of the Mexican cartel authorizing the use of weaponized drones.
Yeah, can you repeat? I missed the first part of your question.
There's been reports of the Mexican cartels authorizing the use of weaponized drones against Border Patrol agents, as well as these recent shootings on the border. Does law enforcement or the National Guard have plans to combat this?
Yeah, so before President Trump was elected for this second term, during the Biden administration, both Texas law enforcement and Texas National Guard had been fired upon across the border, had encountered drones across the border. And now with this clampdown, that exacerbates the situation with the cartels, and there's every expectation that they're going to elevate their level of activity. And especially with the advancements and capabilities of drones, both the United States and Texas, in every border state, needs to be prepared to defend themselves and maybe engage in responding as the case may be. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Agree is the correct pathway forward. So listen, we've seen no effect yet and don't anticipate any. Don't know if you heard news this morning, but the Secretary of Commerce made statements that my observation of what the Secretary of Commerce said this morning was that the tariffs in Mexico and Canada are put on hold for right now. They may come back up in April. I really don't know. And so what we're dealing with actually is uncertainty about it. But listen, Texas has a very robust economy that continues to grow, and we're not seeing any harm to our economy because of all the discussions about tariffs yet.
Governor, you mentioned that you were surprised by this report that said that we had a bad rep in regards to regulations. The Texas GOP has been in charge for more than 20 years. Why did it take so long to get to this point?
Candidly, what we've heard over and over again is how well Texas is run and what the regulatory environment is like. I'll give you the most prolific example. And that is more than that. In April of 2020, Elon Musk came to meet me here in my office and said that he wanted to create a cyber auto manufacturing company in Austin, Texas, and hadn't even turned dirt or anything like that on it. He said, here's the deal. I got to do that in 18 months. I asked him, have you ever built a house? But we worked it out, and we were able to ensure that we could move the regulations at the speed of business.
And he was actually able to build that cyber factory from turning dirt to rolling vehicles off of it in less than 18 months. Since then, Elon has moved all of his businesses to Texas because he says the business environment in Texas is superior to where it is elsewhere. And people like Elon and so many CEOs that I've talked to are very pleased with the environment on a comparative basis. But Rudy, one thing we constantly work to do, one reason why we are repeatedly ranked #1 is because we perpetually seek to find ways to improve. And this regulatory environment reform is one way that we can improve to ensure that Texas is moving even faster, and in the future there'll be even more trophies behind your back, ranking Texas as the national champion for economic development.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Take a few questions.
Governor, is there a sector or an industry or some examples that you think is low-hanging fruit that this red tape could be cut?
I got to tell you, I think there's low-hanging fruit all over the place. When you look at the vast amount of regulations, there's so much slicing and dicing that can and needs to be done. And so we will look to accelerate the process to make sure we start slashing away to make government more efficient as quickly as possible.
Governor, we're talking a lot about different bill signings that we're expecting. I wanted to see if we could get any reaction on SJR 3 getting delayed today in the House. It's a priority for St. Patrick, as there's been reporting the House Democrats are going to withhold their votes on those joint resolutions. Any comment on that strategy?
Well, I'm hearing it for the first time, so I don't know exactly what you're talking about. All I can say is this, and that is one thing that we have shown, being myself, the Lieutenant Governor, and the Speaker, we are working collaboratively together better than any time that I've been governor. And I think that same collaboration will seep into and be a part of both the House and the Senate. Listen, not everything is going to get passed on day one, and there is the give and take through this process. But I have no doubt that when the sun sets on this session, it's going to be viewed as one of, if not the most successful session we've seen in more than a decade.
Governor, you mentioned that
Governor, National Guard deployments, can you tell us how many soldiers are being deployed, and if these are preemptive deployments or if they're just purely on the sidelines until they're called in?
First of all, we want to make sure that what has happened in California does not happen in Texas. Texas is a law and order state, and we will use every tool that we can to ensure order across our state. That includes the deployment of Texas Department of Public Safety officers, as well as Texas National Guard, in strategic locations where they can provide the most robust response where needed. As it concerns the exact tactics and things like that, we don't disclose those publicly. You will see them arise in response to what we see on the ground.
But not the numbers? You don't have the number of people being deployed?
I do, but I'm not going to tell you. Nothing personal. It's just that there are others outside of this room who would like to know that I'm not going to tell them.
Governor, more questions?
Can you define what is like crossing the line for those who they don't know? Like, what is the crossing line in Texas?
That leads to FAFO. Violating the law. You break the law, you cross the line, you will be arrested. I was a little bit clearer about this last night in my post last night, and that is there is freedom of speech. However, if in your protest you damage somebody's property or you harm an individual, that's violating the law, and you will be arrested for it.
Last question.
So first, I will tell you that the director of DPS, Freeman Martin, could give you a more precise answer. I'll tell you basically what I understand was the fact, and that is there was a person on the Capitol grounds with a gun who seemingly had the intent to do harm to a legislator. No more defined than that. If you're on the Capitol grounds with a gun conveying that type of message, that's a credible threat that has to be taken seriously. You obviously saw what happened in Minnesota. We need all to make sure that nothing like that ever happens in the state of Texas. So DPS is on heightened alert. They work not just within the confines of DPS. They have joint task forces arrayed around the state of Texas that all do communications where they're gathering information both through social media sources as well as other sources to make sure they will have the most robust source of information and be able to address this in advance. I've seen them do it hundreds of times, so that they're very effective at it. And they will work to ensure that not just members of the legislature, but candidly anybody in the public is going to be free from some type of deranged attack like that.
Governor, the Department of Homeland Security may be doing some large deportation operations in some of the places being sanctuary cities across the country. Do you think that's going to happen in the state of Texas? Is DPS going to be involved anyway?
So first, I'll tackle the first part of your question that you put in there. You said that are deemed sanctuary cities. I think LA may be in that category. As you know, there is no sanctuary city in the state of Texas. I signed Senate Bill 4 many years ago that banned sanctuary cities in the state of Texas. That point aside, though, both the Texas Department of Public Safety and the Texas National Guard, they work in collaboration both with Border Patrol as well as with ICE to make sure that Texas is working now in partnership with the Trump administration to achieve their goal of removing people who are here illegally.
2 more questions.
I want to thank everybody for gathering with us here today, and we are especially pleased to have with us today Secretary Kristi Noem from the Department of Homeland Security, who will share with you a lot of information herself. Before I do pass the mic to her, there are several things that I want to announce as well as some things to share. First, what I have observed in this community over the past 24 hours is what I call quintessential Texas. When Texans face a challenge, we come together, we unite. And that's exactly what's happened over the past 24 to 48 hours in this community. Nothing more than extraordinary devastation. And the worst thing that could have happened in this community fell upon it. They could have fallen apart. They could have fought against each other. But instead, they understand the importance of unity. And it's what Texans do. It's what we will continue to do. Along those lines, something else to double down on what I said last night. We will be relentless in going after and ensuring that we locate every single person who's been a victim of this flooding event. We're not going to stop today or tomorrow. We will stop when the job is completed. Between now and whenever that day arrives when the job is completed, this is a 24/7 operation, day and night, because we know that we are looking for Texans and Americans, and we put them as our top priority, and we will find every one of them. Additionally, I want to let you know that overnight, there was an increase in storm damage and rainfall and flooding in other regions of the state of Texas that were in addition to the ones that were in the disaster declaration that I made yesterday. What I'm going to sign today is an expanded disaster declaration that adds the following counties to what I signed yesterday. This disaster declaration includes Bexar County, Burnett, Caldwell, Guadalupe, Travis, and Williamson counties. We will continue to add counties as needed as conditions either worsen or improve in counties across the state of Texas. We will ensure that every asset and resource the state has is going to be made available to every county that's the subject of this disaster declaration. Also, I've had the opportunity to visit not just with Secretary Noem, but other officials in the Trump administration. And we know that President Trump, he loves Texas for one. He's deeply concerned about all the families who've been affected, but also knows about the magnitude of the devastation that we're suffering. And so what I'm about to sign now is going to be the first step in a process. This document is a request for a federal disaster declaration coming from the governor to seek the immediate and ongoing help of the federal government. I want to express my gratitude in advance to President Trump for his entire administration for their devotion to the state of Texas. He always tells me about his love for the people of the state of Texas, his deep concern for them, and I know that he's feeling that now as much as he ever has. And there's no better way to show that than the fact that he wanted to ensure that he and his entire administration was represented here today by Secretary Kristi Noem, to whom I would like to turn things over at this time.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. And I want to thank Governor Abbott for his leadership, and know that President Trump is absolutely heartbroken by what has happened here in Texas, and the loss of life is absolutely devastating to him and Melania. This morning I talked with him several times, and he wanted to make sure that all of you know how much he loves Texas, how much he's grieving for your families that have lost someone, and the beautiful children that we're still looking for and hoping to return to their families, and that he is absolutely committed to using all the resources of the federal government to help unify families, rescue all those that were still missing, and return those who maybe we will recover back to their families as soon as possible, and that we will be here walking alongside each other and helping throughout this entire crisis. And know that I'm extremely grateful as well for the leadership of Nim Kidd, who's a fantastic emergency operations manager and has been well known throughout this country for leading through such a time as this. And this tragic situation is something that is unprecedented. We recognize that at the federal level. We also recognize that when something like this happens to a community, happens to a state, that the best responders are those locally, because it's your family members, it's your community members that are being impacted, and you can respond quickly. And the role of the state is to run and manage that emergency, but the federal government needs to be here for the support and extra resources on the ground as well. And that is what we are doing and what President Trump has dedicated to continue to do. I've visited with the president already about this federal disaster declaration that the governor was going to sign here this morning, and he has indicated that he will honor that and that he will accept that. So that response and that relief will be coming. And we also have had assets here on the ground since the beginning of this crisis started, since this weather event did start. And even before it came, we were alerted. We did have Coast Guard assets here that were helping to rescue people. We're thankful for the airframe that showed up and those coasties that were here walking alongside our DPS, and the emergency responders that were here, the Texas assets that were deployed already, and that coordination was seamless, and I appreciate them for putting that request in right away. We also had our BORTAC team from Customs and Border Protection out here helping with rescues. They are a specialized, trained force to come in these types of situations and bring their skill set to bear. That is a resource that's incredibly important to the Department of Homeland Security, but also in these types of situations when we need emergency management response. We also did have a CBP advisory interdiction specialist here that was helping with some coordination of air assets that has been present. And then we are looking at the other entities that are under the department, what can be utilized, and of course FEMA is standing at an enhanced level right now, which means that they are plugged in to the State Operations Center. We are engaged, and then as this response goes forward, that their role will continue to be filled as it always is in these situations, and will be timely and responsive as to what the governor requests and what is needed here on the ground. I do know that the state of Texas is amazing in how it responds to disasters. Not every state is like that. Many states do not do what the people of Texas do. And you are an example to the nation of getting through these difficult times, but also know that you're not alone, that you have the entire country's hearts and are with you and are walking alongside you. And at the department, we will continue to bring more resources. We just, at the request of a previous conversation less than an hour ago, in visiting with him and with the governor, requested more fixed-wing aircraft from Coast Guard to come and help us, making sure that we're going out and locating individuals as fast as possible that we know are still missing, and that we also will send more airframe as far as helicopters that have the ability to come in, and some will be equipped, and the fixed wings with thermals so they can continue to work all night long. Some of the assets that other agencies may offer don't have that kind of equipment, but the Coast Guard does have it, and so that will be deployed so that the search and rescue efforts don't stop even when it does get dark at night. We'll continue to stay engaged, and I'll be here. I'm going to go up to the camp, Mystic, and I'm going to go around town and spend some time here today and make sure that when I am calling and talking to the president throughout the day that he has timely information and that the requests that are coming here from the leadership on the ground are met immediately, and that we can take care of these families and take care of these folks right away. We do know the number one priority now is people, is making sure we're finding people as fast as possible and we're returning them to their families. And then also, throughout the process, we'll get into what damage was done to public infrastructure, what may have been done to, I know we have 1,800 people that are still without power. What I understand is people still have water, but we do have damage to bridges and to roads. Thankfully, dams held. But all of that is an assessment that we'll continue to work with you on to make sure that you recover as quickly as possible. So, again, thank you all for being strong and being an example for people. Someone told me a long time ago, over 30 years ago, that to never get angry on behalf of yourself, get angry on behalf of the other people. To always go out and get up every day and go work for other people and help them. And so I know many of you that are out there responding and helping your neighbors had losses too. You're hurting because you're grieving somebody that may have been lost. We were created to serve people. God created us to serve each other. And now is a wonderful time to go find somebody you can help, somebody that you can take care of and get them through this process. And that will make us stronger and better into the future. So our prayers are with you. President Trump wants you to know that he and Melania are praying for you and love you. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the governor.
Sure. Well, thank you very much. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the assets and resources you and the Trump administration are providing. One thing that Secretary Noem mentioned was the fact that recoveries and rescues are being made. And what has happened over the past 36 hours is really amazing. When you look at what the local officials have done, working in collaboration with multiple state agencies as well as our federal partners, in 36 hours, they have rescued or recovered more than 850 people, some clinging to trees to save their lives, others in other precarious situations. It's just sheer heroism, the way that we've seen our first responders rescue so many people. And now I would like to turn things over to Senator John Cornyn.
My thanks to President Trump and Secretary Noem for responding so quickly to Governor Abbott's request for a federal disaster declaration. And particularly, Madam Secretary, thank you for being here in person. It's really important and I think sends a very important message. Unfortunately, I've been to a number of disasters over the years across the state of Texas, as has the governor, and none of these get any easier. But I have to tell you, I remain incredibly impressed with Governor Abbott's leadership and the incredible work that the Texas Department of Emergency Management under the leadership of Nim Kidd do. They are literally the best in the nation. And what Secretary Noem said about other states not responding as well is true. It's something we should be very proud of and grateful for, particularly at a time like this. And then there are the men and women who are standing behind us here who have been doing the work on the ground, not waiting for the federal government to show up, they've been getting the work done, as the governor pointed out. And we are all together, we are praying for those who have lost loved ones and are grieving. We are celebrating with those who have been reacquainted with and rejoined with their family members. And, you know, a few years ago, the governor will remember this, up in West Texas after a terrible disaster, a county commissioner there said something to me that I think is appropriate at a time like this. He said, being from Texas is not just about where you're from, it's who your family is. And so when things like this happen, we come together as a family, as Texans, in a way that I'm very proud of, but it's very important because this is who our family is, and we owe it to them. And I take the governor at his word that he and his team will be relentless in supporting all of the efforts at the local and the federal level until every last person is accounted for and those families are reunited with their loved ones. But Governor, thank you again for your leadership. Secretary Noem, it means a lot to us for you to be here. And we appreciate Governor Abbott and Chief Kidd, but we appreciate President Trump and you responding so quickly to the governor's request for disaster declaration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now Congressman Chip Roy.
Thank you, Governor. Thanks all of you for being here. You know, before I was crazy enough to run for Congress, my family and I started a tradition of coming down to Kerrville for 4th of July. And we've been coming here every summer since my kids were little. They're now 14 and 15 to see Robert Earl and whoever else was playing. And pictures have been popping up my phone, the ones that, you know, kick on the anniversary of different shows, like a bunch of different shows over the last decade. It hits home. It really does. It hits personally for those of us for whom this is our community, our home. My family lives in Hays County, but we spend a lot of time in Kerr. And I can't say enough about the local leadership and what they've been doing in the face of this disaster. Your city manager has done an extraordinary job. Your sheriff has done an extraordinary job. I could go down the list of everybody, and I'll leave somebody out. But I can't say enough about what they've done, and then I can't say enough about the governor and about NIM and about the leadership that has come from the state and from DPS and from TDEM to get this done and to do what we're in the process of still doing to react to this unfortunate circumstance. It's been professional and it's been extremely well done. And I have to say, the secretary yesterday, I reached out to her office. I think it might be 15 minutes later that I got a call from the secretary, immediately responding to requests. I talked to NIM about the need for Army Corps support and some other stuff, immediately talked to the secretary about it. The collaboration, the teamwork, local, state, and federal, I cannot overstate the extent to which everybody set aside turfs or any of those kinds of things to deliver for the people of Texas. Now, we're far from having finished the job. We're all here knowing that we still have work to do. We're still prayerful. We're still hopeful. Obviously, there's a lot here that we're dealing with, but I'm deeply appreciative for that coordination. And last point that I'll just make is, you know, and I've said this a little bit earlier this morning, there's going to be a lot of finger pointing and a lot of second guessing and Monday morning quarterbacking. And I just want to pick up on what I think the governor said about 850 something individuals that were moved quickly in this circumstance and in a once in a century flood where you get 12, 14 inches, where you get a 26 to 30 foot increase in water in the course of an hour and a half at 4 to 6 o'clock in the morning on a holiday. And that's what we're dealing with in these circumstances and where those camps are. There's a lot of people saying why and how, and I understand that. And I understand why parents would be asking those questions and all of the media. But where we are right now in terms of what we've done to be able to protect people, move them, get them out of the camps, and the heroic efforts of people that worked in those camps, directors of the camps, people who own the camps, who not just risked their lives, gave their lives to try to go save the lives of those kids. That's who they are as Texans. And I'm so proud of that. And I'm so proud of the work that everyone's done to do that. And now we just got to finish the job and be with the people. And importantly, pray for the families who have lost their loved ones.
Thank you. Now, Kerr County Judge Kelly.
Yes, I think I'm the only one at this table that lives on the Guadalupe River. And our properties were devastated, and I barely got home yesterday. I started my morning ushering in a crew with a skid steer and 2 dump trailers, 3 trucks, 9 men to start trying to rebuild what went down the river. I then had the opportunity to come here, where I was asked to go over to the funeral home. I had issues over there. I am a 50-year lawyer and a mediator and arbitrator, and we had some issues that needed attention. And I got to see firsthand many of the body bags, and it breaks my heart. And coming back from that, we had a opportunity to go on a helicopter ride with the senator and the mayor and inspect the devastation. We flew all the way up the South Fork, all the way to Criders. And you can see what's happened, and it's going to be a long time before we're ever going to be able to clean it up, much less rebuild it. But there's nothing on the other side of Criders. It's just hill country. And we didn't know. We know we get rains. We know the river rises. But nobody saw this coming. And what I really have to report to you is it was a godsend to be able to get out of the helicopter, walk back into this building, and sit down with these people and cooperate, arm in arm, hand in hand, to do the best we can to work the process. The rescue has gone as well as can be expected. It's getting time now for the recovery. And that's going to be a long, toilsome task for us. And what I would reiterate that I've heard others say is as long as we stay together, we'll get this done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now, Mayor Herring.
I want to start off by saying thank you on behalf of the city of Kerrville and our 25,000 citizens. I want to say thank you to the federal government, the state government, county government. You know, as I look around the room in the Emergency Operations Center, I don't see different agencies from the state, the federal, the county. I see one team working together. It's important for our community to know it's one team. We will rescue those in peril, and we will find those who are lost. I continue to ask everyone who sees this today to pray for Kerrville and Kerr County. We need your prayers. And thank God we have the help of the federal government and the state government in this horrible, horrible crisis. Thank God for our country, and thank God for all the help we are receiving today. Thank you.
Now, TDM Chief Nimkid.
Thank you, Governor. My heart breaks. It's broken for those families that have lost their loved ones, and that fuels our drive to continue to search for them, and we will not stop until we find every one of them. I have to start by thanking our local first responders. Those men and women on the streets live here, they work here, their families are here, yet they got on the truck and they got in the car and they got in the ambulance and they went out and they did everything they could to save their neighbors. You also have volunteers all over this county that do the job for free, that were out there working to save lives, many times putting their own lives and their property at risk. Our state partners have been phenomenal, nothing short. Madam Secretary, your federal team has been nothing short of remarkable and impressive. I'm grateful for that. Every time I've reached out to you or your staff or Acting Administrator Richardson or the Acting Regional Administrator, I don't think the phone has rang twice before you've answered. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for being here with us. Life safety continues to be our #1 priority. We will continue the search until all those that are missing are found. We will start cleanup and property damage assessments as soon as possible. Our teams from FEMA have been in the State Emergency Operations Center since before we started operating on this event. They are exactly where we need them to be, doing exactly what we need them to be doing. Our Border Patrol partners have been here, and I'm so grateful for the U.S. Coast Guard. Acting Administrator Richardson and Regional Administrator Stoller have been great partners to us. We continue to work forward. And if I may, I'd just like to run across a few more of the numbers. 1,331 state additional personnel that have been added to this response on top of all your local responders. Over 906 state assets here. That's 125 from our agency, 172 from the Urban Search and Rescue Team at Texas Task Force 1, over 160 from the Department of Public Safety, over 250 from the Texas Department of Transportation, 170 from the Texas Wildlife Department, Military Department 136, and the A&M Forest Service here with 115, and almost 190 people on the health and medical side. Governor, our team stands ready to assist this community.
Thank you very much. One last thing, and that is, there is a word that's been the most common word that's been spoken over the past 36 hours, and that is the word prayer. It's been repeated by the people who are watching this as we speak right now. It's repeated often on social media, through phone calls, through texts. And those prayers are answered in so many ways. Answered by that child who was being swept down the river and happened to find a tree to cling on and was able to continue with uncommon strength to be able to remain clinging to that tree until a helicopter was able to descend upon her and lift her out of that harrowing situation. It could have been the reason why water stopped rising into a home or a cabin or something that would have caused an entire building to float away. It could be the reason why there have been so many people who have been located wherever they were down the river basin. It could be something that prevented somebody from getting into the water to begin with. All we know is that prayer does work. Your prayers have made a difference. We ask for continued prayers as we continue our efforts to locate everybody who's been affected by this, and pray so much for the families who have lost a loved one, who are going through challenging times that they never imagined on the 3rd of July that something like this would happen. Prayer matters, and we thank God Almighty. God has blessed Texas and will continue to bless our great state. We'll take a few questions.
Have the numbers changed? 27 dead and 27 missing from Camp Mystic.
Sure.
What I can tell you is there's still 27 missing. We have recovered some additional bodies at this time. We're trying to identify at this time. What I can tell you, an update, there's 32 deceased. 18 of those are adults and 14 are children. 5 of the adults remain unidentified and 3 children remain unidentified. We are still working on that this time. As I said earlier this morning, the numbers are going to continue to change. They're going to continue to change till we're done. It's been a very good day as far as being out there and being able to do some things, and we've got a lot done.
Chief, early on there was a lot of conflicting information about the search, about the number of fatalities, the missing, even a lot of families and parents were rightfully concerned and more importantly confused about all this information. We just heard the judge refer to this as a shift from rescue to recovery. Can you clarify what that means? Are we talking about these missing people no longer believed to be alive?
You'll need the judge to answer that piece. Our state assets and local partners are continuing to search for live victims.
Is there any indication that there are still people out there alive? Any evidence?
History would tell us that after a certain time period, those chances diminish, and we can talk about all of the numbers and the metrics on that. Our hope and prayer is that there are still people alive that are out there, and we are still actively searching for them, and we will continue. And listen, that will turn into recovery at some point, and none of us want to put a time period on that right now. But when you talk to the men and women that are up there in those helicopters and out in those boats and walking the ground, they're looking for live people right now and doing everything they can to continue this search as fast as possible.
And Judge, just a moment to clarify, because we want to be very clear with especially families and parents that are watching this. What makes you feel like this has gone from rescue to potential recovery? Because there is a difference.
We will eventually get to the recovery.
To
Two more questions.
Well, we're going to do more than two more questions. I want to say this. My instruction to every state agency involved in this is to assume everybody who is missing is alive, and there's a need for speed. Not just every hour, every minute counts, which is why there's people in the air, people in the water, people on the ground right now, because they're looking to save every last life, and we will not give up that effort.
Two more questions. Where's happening and where the challenges? I live in Kerrville. Why was the National Weather Service not pinging their phones before 7 o'clock this day of 4th of July? We need the federal people to answer that maybe for us. I got updates at 7 o'clock. First one I heard. And I've heard updates throughout the week, but not before 7 o'clock in the morning. Wasn't that a fundamental failure of the federal government's responsibility to keep us safe?
Well, you know, my background is, before I was in the secretary position here under the Trump administration, I was governor of South Dakota and served in Congress for 8 years before I was governor. And so I will tell you that for decades, for years, everybody knows that the weather is extremely difficult to predict, but also that the National Weather Service over the years at times has done well, and at times we have all wanted more time and more warning and more alerts and more notification. That is something, and one of the reasons that when President Trump took office, that he said he wanted to fix, and is currently upgrading the technology, and the National Weather Service has indicated that with that and NOAA that we needed to renew this ancient system that has been left in place with the federal government for many, many years, and that is the reforms that are ongoing there. The timeline that I have, I don't oversee the National Weather Service, that's not under my department, but the timeline that I did receive from them was that the notifications started to look at its expansion for its limited flood impacts area that started on July 3rd at 1:18 p.m. The flood watch was issued. Although it was moderate, it wasn't to the extremes that it was, that when the system came over the area that it stalled, it was much more water, much like I think we experienced during Harvey, the same type of system that was unpredictable in the way that it reacted and the way that it stopped right here and dumped unprecedented amounts of rain that caused a flooding event like this. They continue to elevate and up their notifications. You know, when your notification hit your phone, sir, I'm sorry, I can't speak to when that is, but I do carry your concerns back to the federal government and to President Trump, and we will do all we can to fix those kinds of things that may have felt like a failure to you and to your community members. But we know that everybody wants more warning time, and that's why we're working to upgrade the technologies that have been neglected by far too long to make sure that families have as much advanced notice as possible. But
one more question, folks.
Can you please speak to the search efforts and where that's happening and what the challenges are?
Question was search efforts.
Where it's happening, challenges, what it's looking like.
Yeah, the entire river is being searched from the northernmost impact all the way as we run down. You have assets in the air that are still doing searches, you have boats that are in the water doing searches, and you have ground crews doing searches. As the water recedes, new areas being uncovered and searched, and you have human and canine that are working those banks and will continue. It's a grid situation where we've got maps in there in the EOC where you can see what group is assigned to what area and reporting back to command if they find or if they continue to clear. And that process is going to keep going. We are not stopping until we find everyone that's missing.
Great, thank you, everyone. That's all we got time for.
Go ahead.
As far as the resources people who are trying to recover, we have FEMA, we have the state. What can people depend on from the federal government and the state government in this time of need? There's a lot of that.
well, as in every emergency situation, the local emergency responders put together what the request is through the state, and the state coordinates all of the response and what assets may be necessary and makes a request to us. So now that the governor has already requested this federal disaster declaration, he will start to tell us what the needs are, and the federal government will do all that we can to support.
Ma'am, will there be direct assistance?
Well, there already has been direct assistance. I mean, when you look at having Coast Guard assets here on the ground, we just requested more assets to be here, Border Patrol here. If there's more individuals and federal law enforcement officers, if we need you know, any assets that I may have under my purview, I've made available to NIM, and so he knows that if he needs something, it'll be here.
Great,
thank you.
Everyone, appreciate it. Thank you, folks.
Thank everybody for being here. I visited with some locals who live around here, including a family member of the owner of this store. I let her know that I first came to the store about 20 years ago, 21 years ago. Been to this store every year for many years. I've seen these little campers since they were just a little bit bigger than toddlers, young kids. I've seen them grow and mature into beautiful young men and women. Nothing is as heart-wrenching as hearing the stories of what the girls around here, especially the girls at Camp Mystic, went through. To see where they lived in one moment, where they disappeared the next moment, and were gone forever a few moments after that. I wanted these people to know, I want you all to know, the hearts of our fellow Texans are breaking every single day because of what people of this community and the surrounding area are going through. There's nothing more important on our hearts and minds than the people of this community, especially those who are still lost. I told them what we were doing, not just today, but what we are going to be doing for the days, weeks, and months to come. This is what they needed to hear. They need to know Texas is in this with the people in the Hill Country right here. We are not leaving until this job is finished. The job right now, the primary job right now, continues to be locating everybody who was affected by this flood. There still remain those who are missing. We have to find every single person who's missing. And that's job number one. While we are doing that job, it's important that we also be conducting other business affecting this storm. We did several things in that regard today. One is to get a better assessment about what exactly needed to be provided for the community. We took a flyover to get that assessment. I've been here for multiple times over the course of the past 2 decades, but multiple times over the course of just this one flooding episode. And I have a good feel on the ground of what is needed. But when you're in the air, you get a fuller perspective of how widespread, how catastrophic the damage is, and what must be done to fully address it. We were able to process that better today when we flew around. And on that fly around today, I had with me the Speaker of the House, Dustin Burrows, who's going to speak after myself. I want to provide you with some information, some of which is just now updated. First, the numbers that I have is that there are 94 fatalities. 94 fatalities associated with this flooding event in this area. Separate from that, in other flooding events in other parts of the state of Texas, there's another 15 fatalities for a total of 109. To put this into perspective, just in the Kerr and Kendall counties alone, there are far more fatalities than there were in Hurricane Harvey. That's how catastrophic this is. I also have some updated numbers on those who are missing. First, from Camp Mystic. My information is those who are missing is down to now 5 campers and 1 counselor. 5 campers and 1 counselor missing. In addition to that, there is another child not associated with the camp who is missing. So for Kerr County, that would be a total of 7 who are missing. In other parts of the state, there are 12 who are missing. I have a new number, however. So one thing we've been reaching out to the public about is to get better information about those who were not registered at a camp, those who were not registered at a hotel, those who may have been down here who no one really had any accounting of. And through law enforcement agencies working together, they provided me this number. Just in the Kerr County area alone, there are 161 people who are known to be missing. And again, that comes from combined law enforcement efforts, 161 known people who are missing. Know this, we will not stop until every missing person is accounted for. Know this also, there very likely could be more added to that list. One way that we were able to expand the list of those who are missing is because family members, friends, neighbors, etc. begin calling in and reporting them as missing. What I want to do is once again provide a reminder to anybody watching this that if you have a friend, a family member, somebody that you think may be missing because of this storm, we need you to call the number that I'm about to give you. It is 830-258-1111. That's 830-258-1111. If you want to go to a website address, you can go to kerrvillemissing@dps.texas.gov. I'm going to repeat it twice more. That's Kerrville, spelled Kerrville, no space, then the word missing, MISSING. So Kerrville Missing at dps.texas.gov. So either call that phone number, go to that website, and provide the name and the best identification you can and the last known location of anybody that you think is missing. Know this also. If you make a prank call or provide false information, that's a crime. Do not provide false information because you're hindering our ability to undertake this investigation, hindering our ability to actually rescue and find those who truly are missing. So you better be correct when you're calling in and let us know that there is somebody who is missing.
Governor Abbott, over here, sir. First of all, we want to acknowledge the superhuman work that's happening for these rescue and recovery efforts, but there are growing concerns in this community about who was in charge during those critical hours when that first alert came in at 1:14 and when the wall of water arrived here just before 5 a.m. What is your level of concern here, and what are you looking into personally?
So again, my focus isn't on trying to say, oh, you did wrong or you should have done better there. My job is to bring Texas and Texans together and make sure that we immediately start delivering on solutions. You talk about the heroic effort, and no one has seen the level of response as what Texas has provided over the past 4 days or so. And we continue to maintain that response here while also going to the state capitol and working on around-the-clock responses there to make sure that we do deliver real solutions for these people sitting right behind you.
And a follow-up for Chief Kidd, please.
Going back to President Trump, he and I spoke again this morning, and he could not stop talking about how sad he was for all the little girls who've lost their life. He recounted his own understanding of what happened with what was really a tsunami wave of wall of water that swept too many of them away. And he cares a lot about those young ladies, and he wants to step up and make sure that any need that we have here in Texas is going to be met very quickly. And he's already done that by helping to provide the quick assistance by sending down Secretary Kristi Noem, who, listen, I've been dealing with events like this for 10 years. Never have I seen someone respond as quickly and as effectively as what Secretary Noem did. Also, while coming over here, I received this text from Secretary Kennedy. It says the following. It says, Governor Abbott, it's Secretary Robert Kennedy. It says, we are set to declare a public health emergency for the Texas Hill Country flash floods. This will make it easier for healthcare and mental health providers from out of state to help both by traveling to the area and by telemedicine. Please let us know where we can be most helpful, which I will let him know. But I just wanted you to know about that new update. Now I would like to turn things over to the Speaker. You know this, but I began coming here about 20 years ago.
Have you?
I've been pointed out. My daughter was a camper here. She's an adult.
We're all Mystic girls.
Yeah.
My daughter, granddaughter, and my son.
We're 5 years for you here.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, we just thank you so much for being here. This is how we're overwhelmed with all of you about this.
We're not letting up.
Thank you. There's so many people that need
House may be gone, but we're not.
We need to hear that.
Yeah, we're not giving up until every last person is recovered, until every piece of debris is removed, until all the roads are rebuilt, until everything's done to make sure order is restored to the community. You live here? In Hunt? Yeah, whereabouts?
39 off of Langford.
Okay, so you had some elevation where you were?
Yes, thankfully we were on a hill, but a lot of people we know weren't, and they lost it.
I know. I've seen it all. I've never seen anything more horrific. So sorry for you. Be assured that a week goes by, we're not going away. We will not leave until the job is done. God bless you. Keep you in our prayers.
Quick follow-up. At what point was the state in contact with the county ahead of this flooding here, sir?
Nim could best answer that. Nim,
Chief Kidd, we know that resources were deployed ahead of this ahead of the flooding. At what point was the state in contact with Kerr County?
Wednesday and Thursday before the Friday morning.
So why was evacuation
I
orders
can't
not
answer the
listed?
whys. I'm not going to answer the whys. You asked when we were in contact. We started having calls and messages on Wednesday from an area of I-35, out I-10, all the way to where it touches I-20, all the way back over to where I-20 touches I-35 again. That is a large chunk of Texas that was anywhere in the potential area of where this kind of rain could have fallen. It picked this spot right here.
All right.
Can you tell us the nature of those talks, sir?
Go ahead. Yeah, and so I just heard that moments ago. The man who's in charge of that assistance is Chief Nim Kidd. She wants to know how long does it take to get assistance?
How long does it take to get assistance? So the disaster recovery centers will be published in the morning of those locations. They can go to those locations and start getting aid. There are plenty of volunteers that are out there ready to offer aid right now, in addition to the federal assistance.
So you're saying that those centers will be open tomorrow morning?
Yes, sir.
Where?
We have the addresses. I need to confirm them, and then we'll put them out. They will be publicized. They will be publicized. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Over here.
Governor?
When what happened, Governor, you led an investigation. Are you going to ask for investigation in this case?
So you, we said when Harvey happened?
No, Uvalde.
Oh,
Uvalde happened.
Yeah.
And it was gross negligence back then. Now this happened, and the death toll is enormous. Are you going to ask for investigation? Who is to blame here?
Right. So I'm going to talk about two different things. The first part of your question, and that is an investigation. We know a special session's coming in about 10 days. That's where, I would say where it begins. Candidly, those investigations will begin by both the House and Senate before we go into session. So probably beginning later this week or the early part of next week, there'll be committees formed that are already kind of working on ideas about ways to address this. Second part of your question needs to be addressed. You ask, and I'm going to use your words, who's to blame? Know this. That's the word choice of losers. Let me explain one thing about Texas, and that is Texas, every square inch of our state cares about football. You could be in Hunt, Texas, Huntsville, Texas, Houston, Texas, any size community, they care about football. High school, Friday night lights, college football, or pro. And know this, every football team makes mistakes. The losing teams are the ones that try to point out who's to blame. The championship teams are the ones that say, don't worry about it, man, we got this. We're going to make sure that we go score again, and we're going to win this game. The way winners talk is not to point fingers. They talk about solutions. What Texas is all about is solutions. In fact, I want to read you something that I received last night that's worth emphasizing to put this in context. Tragedy has come. That part is done. What we do now, who we are now, that's what the story is still being written. Let it be one of grace, of grit, of fierce love in the face of grief. Let it be the kind of story that proves that the hill country may flood, but it does not fail. Say what you will about Texas, but when the rivers rise, so do we. Not with blame, not with bitterness, but with boots on the ground, arms around strangers, and hearts wide open. That's the Texas I know, and that's the America that I believe in. What this person wrote is what I know is true for all Texans, and what we will achieve every single day.
Governor Abbott, over.
Primary job right now continues to be locating everybody who was affected by this flood. There still remain those who are missing. We have to find every single person who's missing. Nothing is as heart-wrenching as hearing the stories of what the girls around here, especially the girls at Camp Mystic, went through. To see where they lived in one moment, where they disappeared the next moment, and were gone forever. The hearts of our fellow Texans are breaking every single day because of what people of this community and the surrounding area are going through. From Camp Mystic, my information is those who are missing is down to now 5 campers and 1 counselor. 5 campers and 1 counselor missing. In addition to that, there is another child not associated with the camp who is missing.
So one thing I think most, say, governors, most state officials, as well as the federal government could agree upon, and that is we needed improvements in FEMA. And it needed to be what I call right-sized so that it would be more nimble, quicker in the response, but also understanding that it's the locals who know what is best in responding to a disaster. And local is defined by these local communities, whether it be Leander or Travis County or Williamson County, whatever the case may be. They're the ones on the ground, and they know their communities far better than anybody else, and they know how to respond to their communities. And it's the state and federal government that work to provide them the additional resources they need to accomplish their goal. Here's the point. But by working on the reforms that we will work with FEMA and with the presidential team on, we're going to work to find ways to streamline the process, cut through all the red tape, to ensure that even when we do that, the monetary resources that we are receiving now that are much needed for things like having the emergency first responders or debris removal or search and rescue operations, those will still be funded, but we will have the ability to do it a whole lot faster, a whole lot quicker without waiting around for the federal government.
Last question.
Governor. Federal government.
Last question.
Governor, with all due respect to everything, but I did want to ask separately. On the weekend, Secretary Redistricting said that she's in talk with 5 GOP-led states to have state detention facilities for immigration purposes. I'm asking Texas in conversations will versus the federal government with immigration detention staff.
So I haven't had a direct conversation with her. I do know that Texas has offered detention facilities. I've signed what's called a 287G law that was passed in the session that requires local jails to work with Homeland Security. Listen, we want to do everything we can to make sure that those who are here legally are allowed to remain legally. Those who are here illegally, they'll be turned over to ICE.
Would there be some details that make you guys
For one, it's a joke, but also according to Politico, 2/3 of his state disagree with him on that. And for him to be able to get anything passed, he has to have 2/3 of the state agree with him on it. It's a joke. He's posturing for the presidency and doing nothing more than that. He's all talk and no action.
Governor, I'm sorry. I was talking to some of the GOP House, Texas House members, and they had mentioned the possibility of redistricting state House districts as well. That would have to obviously get added to the call. Do you have any thoughts on that? And also whether you might add more seats? I know you've been talking about that on the congressional level to be redistricted because of this former.
Every strategy is at play. Depends on when and whether the Democrats show up. You know, they talk as though they're going to be showing up today or tomorrow. We'll wait and see. But we hold a lot more bullets in our belt that we'll be ready to use if we need to. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you all.
Thanks.
Good job.
You too. Thank you.
Good morning. As soon as I talk, a truck comes by. But good morning. Thank you, everybody, for being here on an issue that has bipartisan support in the state legislature. This is an issue involving human trafficking that Texas has zero tolerance for. And that shows up in the legislation that I'm about to sign, but also shows up every single day when you see and hear what members of the Texas legislature talk about. They are angry about human traffickers, and they want to ensure that Texas has the toughest laws to prevent human trafficking in the state of Texas. Someone who shares that passion, someone who cares dearly about and actively involves herself in supporting the victims of human trafficking, is the fabulous First Lady of Texas, Cecilia Abbott, who joins with us here today. I'm going to sign 2 laws today that address this issue. Before I do, however, I want to recognize, in addition to the members of the legislature and the First Lady who are involved in this, we know that legislation like this gets across the finish line because there are, unfortunately, so many survivors. And importantly, those survivors come to the Capitol and let us know what the problems are, what the best solutions are to help those survivors. And I thank all the survivors of human trafficking for stepping up and telling their stories, sharing their insight, talking about what needs to be done to help their lives. And we got advocates also who work on this every single day. When you add all that together, that's one reason why Texas is so successful in passing the anti-human trafficking legislation that we passed. So on the zero tolerance side, we want to ensure that we do all we can so that human traffickers never walk the streets of Texas again. These 2 bills I'm going to sign help achieve that goal. One is Senate Bill 1212. It increases the penalty for all human trafficking offenses to a first-degree felony. We want tougher penalties for our worst criminals, and Senate Bill 1212 gets that job done. And then the worst of the worst are human traffickers of children and people with disabilities. House Bill 2306 ensures that those traffickers will serve every single day of their prison sentence behind bars. No parole for these worst of the worst. Among other things, this will protect survivors from the trauma of having to attend parole hearing after parole hearing and have to go through that whole experience again. So I want to thank Senator Parker and Representatives Villalobos and Helen Kerwin for stepping up and getting this legislation to my desk. Senate Bill 2306 and House Bill 1212 are law in the state of Texas.
Well, Austin, listen, congratulations on your announcement. Thank you for everything that you have done so far. I would amend what you said. In my experience as governor, I've never seen a community or a foundation respond faster at literally getting the resources donated to the people who need it the most. Let me kind of walk through the standard process that we go through in responding to a disaster like this, and then comment about what you guys are doing. So anytime when we see what happened either here in Kerrville or what happened in Hurricane Harvey, name the disaster. The first thing we focus on is saving lives, and that includes the ongoing search and rescue operations. The second thing that we focus on is things like removing debris. Then we work through that process on legislation. And by the way, as we are speaking right now, the Texas House of Representatives has taken up multiple pieces of legislation that fully respond to all the needs of the Kerrville, but also the other areas affected by all of these devastating floods. I am told that just as I arrived here, the Texas House of Representatives passed out of their chamber the
camp safety bill to ensure that camps in the state of Texas will be safer from flooding events that cost lives like this one did. Then all along the way, what's necessary is the rebuilding process. There are so many people who are displaced that we need to be very empathetic to. These are people who lost their home, people who don't have a place to live, people who are waiting to get back into their homes. And we need to really feel the pain that they are struggling through, knowing that they have to get back into their home as quickly as possible. Corresponding to that, we have donors, so many generous people here in the state of Texas who have supported that effort. And they had the donor intent to make sure those dollars are going to be used to get those people back into their homes. To see what you've done today with this announcement of $40 million, to know the extent to which it is going to help people actually get back into their homes. And let's aggregate this together. He talked about this new $40 million grant in addition to more than $15 million already granted. And in addition to that, many of you are familiar with what the George Strait Foundation provided. 2 weeks ago, we handed out checks to people who are homeowners who were very devastated. We'll be back again this coming Saturday to hand out more checks. The first round of checks there were $25,000. There will be more money provided. The point is this. The George Strait Foundation is helping about 75 families, 75 residences be able to be fully paid for the rebuilding process. When you look at the money that the Community Foundation is providing to these other local organizations, in addition to the money that would be available after that, I see no reason whatsoever why all of the residents who lost a permanent residence in this region are not only going to be able to have that permanent residence fully rebuilt, but rebuilt at record speed. There's construction projects going on right now, and this is able to happen because of the charitable donations that have been provided. Let me give you a contrast example, and that is when Hurricane Harvey hit, there were literally hundreds of thousands of homes that were impacted and destroyed, and it was far more than what charitable contributions would be able to pay for. As a result, it got stuck into a process that goes to the federal government, that goes through HUD, and it literally takes years, maybe even a half a decade, to get people back into a permanent residence. What these people at this table are doing, they are ensuring that the people of this community will not be going through that experience. They're getting people back in homes this month, next month, very quickly. And this is not only a record amount of money being provided to local residents, I think it's going to be a record speed at which these homeowners are going to be able to get back into their homes. And so I just wanted to be here and say, Austin, thank you for your leadership of this, but also for everybody at this table who will be the local partners involved in the process of making sure that this community is going to be able to execute on the promise of these funds to get into the hands of all the right people to ensure that everybody who is displaced from a permanent residence will be able to get back into that home as quickly as possible. So thank you for doing such a great job.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll have two more questions.
Governor, can you just address the Democratic complaints about these units concerning racial considerations in the history of the Voting Rights Act?
They're absurd, and they certainly have no validity in the law. For what gave rise to this in the first place was the Federal Court of Appeals ruling last year that said that coalition districts are not required. When the maps were drawn in 2021, they included coalition districts. And so we weren't required to adhere to that anymore. What is allowed by the United States Supreme Court is drawing maps for political reasons. And these were drawn for political reasons to ensure that Republicans would have greater representation in Congress. However, they were drawn for political reasons in ways that happen to coincide with what is happening in the state of Texas. What was happening that the Democrats refuse to acknowledge is the fact that Hispanics in Texas are voting Republican. And they are running away from the Democrat Party because the Democrats are for open border policies, therefore men and women's sports, therefore abandoning any pretense of public safety. They are against law enforcement. And so Hispanics as well as the African Americans as well as all Texans, they are supporting the policies that the Republican Party stands for. They're fleeing the policies the Democrats stand for. And so what we did, we ensured that the voters in these 5 new congressional districts would not be trapped by members of Congress who are hostile to their values and to their vote.
Last question.
In another context is what measures or punishments do you want to impose on the legislators who break the law?
So there's, you probably know that I added to the special session agenda an item that requires punishment and consequences for people who break quorum. First, I believe that breaking quorum the way that it was done here violates the Constitution, and there have to be consequences for that. There have been several proposals already offered up in both the House and Senate. That's a good starting point to take a look at those proposals. And what typically happens is when proposals like that arise, it's going to lead to other ideas and other strategies that members of the House and Senate will be able to consider.
That's great. What's your reaction? California has now passed its map, put on the ballot, which is 5 more Democratic seats, which essentially kind of wipes out the GOP gains in Texas with 5 more seats in Texas. What's your reaction to what California is doing?
Well, first and foremost, California is a joke. Second, if you look at the polling numbers in California, 2/3 of the people of the state of California already do not support that. And that's before the advertising efforts that will come out that will really criticize Governor Newsom and what the Democrats are doing out there. So I think the probability of anything passing is very minimal. I think the legal challenges they're going to face will be far different than the legal challenges Texas will face. I know that the maps that we pass in the state of Texas are going to be fully constitutional. I know that they're going to be, and in order for California to draw the maps they want to draw, it is going to subject them to lawsuits that will have those maps overturned. I'll add this, however, and that is Republicans are not finished in the United States. I know that there are efforts underway as we speak right now, where there will be more than 5 additional Republican seats added from these other states across the country. And so all that California is going to do is fall behind. And then let me add these 2 last points. And that is, one, if a new census truly is done and done this year, that's going to change the game dramatically. Because the fact of the matter is California is losing people right and left. Texas and Florida and other Republican states are gaining people right and left. Just a new census alone that would allow us to do another redistricting would mean that Texas would be gaining 1 or 2 congressional seats that will be lost by California. And then on top of that, even if there's not a new census done now, and we know that in the next decade census, California will be losing more seats. New York will be losing more seats. Illinois will be losing more seats. And Texas will be adding more seats. Texas is on a trajectory where we're going to continue to add far more seats that will be Republican seats, and the blue states will be shedding their congressional districts as well as their electoral college votes.
Does anyone have an on-topic question?
I want to thank everybody for being here and being a part of this very important announcement. This announcement is, as I will explain in detail, an all-in effort by law enforcement across this entire county, especially the city of Houston, Harris County, and the constables who gather with us here today, to make sure that we are going to escalate our effort to go after very dangerous repeat offenders here in Harris County. Let me thank those at the table and some of those who gather behind me. We have Ray Hunt, who is the Executive Director of the Houston Police Officers Union. We have Sydney Zeiker, who is with Crime Stoppers. We have Colonel Freeman Martin, who is the Director of the Texas Department of Public Safety. We have Major Catreve from the Harris County Sheriff's Office. The Harris County Sheriff's Office is a part of this mission. We also have constables across this entire county that are stepping up and will be a part of this operation. I'll get some named. I regret if I miss others. Constable Mark Herman, Precinct 4, Constable Terry Albritton, Precinct 5, from Constable Precinct 1, Captain Lori Bender, and others. And this is the type of effort that requires the collaboration of law enforcement at every level. Earlier this year, I signed laws to make it tougher for dangerous criminals to be released on bail. And then later this month, Texans across the entire state are going to have the opportunity to vote on a constitutional amendment requiring the denial of bail to the most dangerous criminals in our state. Today, we are announcing a crackdown that targets repeat violent criminals. But let me start out by being clear about something. The city of Houston and Harris County have already reduced crime rates. Violent crime in Houston is down about 22% compared to last year. Murders are also down. But citizens in this area remain concerned about crime, especially violent crime. And very simply, there are far too many victims of violent crime in Harris County. Most, and this is the most important thing I can say, most violent crimes in the Houston area are committed by repeat offenders. Today, we're putting those criminals on notice. We are coming for you. We're going to target you, arrest you, and put you where you belong, which is behind bars. We're announcing a new joint operation by all these law enforcement agencies here in Harris County, the Violent Crimes Task Force. The goal is to target and take down repeat violent offenders. The task force will combine efforts of all these different law enforcement agencies. Let me highlight a little bit of those who will be swarming these operations in these neighborhoods by the Texas Department of Public Safety, working in collaboration with these local law enforcement agencies. They include Texas DPS troopers, DPS special agents, members of the Houston Tag Center, Texas Rangers, supported by the Department of Homeland Security of DPS, as well as DPS aircraft. This is a Texas-sized effort by both the State Department of Public Safety as well as local law enforcement at every level. An effort to crack down on dangerous repeat offenders in the Houston area, using the full might of our most elite law enforcement officers. Houston can be the national model for public safety in America's largest cities. So our goal is simple, and that's that every Houstonian deserves to be able to walk the streets, take their kids to school, open their businesses, go shopping or dining, all without fear. Together with DPS and all of these local law enforcement agencies, we will focus on driving down violent crime in this area, seeking to be the safest big city in the United States of America. And next, I think we go to Sydney. Here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sydney Zeiker, and I serve as the Senior Director of Programs and Special Projects at Crime Stoppers of Houston. Our CEO, Renia Mancarios, and our COO, Nicole Kristoff, are also here in attendance and in support today. And I want to begin by thanking Governor Greg Abbott for his leadership in keeping Texans safe. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
And for inviting us to be part of this important announcement today. I'm deeply grateful for our partners at DPS and HPOU and the Sheriff's Office and our Harris County Constables and HPD and all of our law enforcement partners that are here today. And on behalf of Crime Stoppers, it's an honor to be here. For 45 years, Crime Stoppers of Houston has been the bridge between law enforcement and the community. Every day, we work alongside victims, families, and neighbors who want what we all want, to be safe, at home, at school, and in our communities. Through that work, we have seen a troubling pattern that's now confirmed by the data. Repeat violent offenders are responsible for a big portion of crime. Our Glenda Gordy Research Center has completed updated analysis, and that data confirms what we have long known. Once someone has committed a violent crime, the chances of them committing another offense, violent or not, are far too high. In Houston, 55% of violent crimes are committed by individuals with criminal pasts. That's not just a statistic. It represents lives lost, families changed forever, and communities left to pick up the pieces. We've seen this firsthand through our work on the bond crisis in Harris County, where too many violent offenders were released on little or no bond, only to victimize again. The bond system became a revolving door for violent criminals, and it cost innocent people their lives. These heartbreaking stories drove us to act. Working alongside Governor Abbott and our legislative partners and local officials, we focused on real solutions that protect victims and hold offenders accountable. Together, we advanced meaningful reforms that reshaped the bond landscape in Texas. We closed dangerous loopholes and we strengthened accountability, and we're especially grateful for your support in that. When we close loopholes, we save lives. And today's announcement and this task force builds on that progress, ensuring that repeat violent offenders are swiftly identified, arrested, and prosecuted. At Crime Stoppers, we are proud to contribute to this effort. Our anonymous tip line has solved nearly 40,000 felony cases and helped remove more than 25,000 dangerous criminals from our streets. Time and time again, we've seen how one phone call, one anonymous tip, can change everything. I want to remind everyone today that if you see something, if you know something, you can help. Call our tip line at 713-222-TIPS, use our mobile app, or visit crime-stoppers.org to make a report. Your information is always anonymous, and it could be the key to preventing the next tragedy. Silence protects criminals. Speaking up protects our community. Today's announcement sends a clear and powerful message. If you are convicted of violent crime and then reoffend, you are now a top priority in Harris County. On behalf of Crime Stoppers, thank you, Governor Abbott, and all of our partners who are with us today for taking this really important step. We stand ready to support with our data, with our advocacy, and with our connections to the community. Together, we can make Texas a lot safer.
Now, Freeman Martin, the Director of the Texas Department of Public Safety.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you to the media for being here to help us keep Houstonians informed about what we're doing. I can tell you nowhere in the nation does law enforcement work together like they work together here in Harris County. Time and time again, we've come together with the Harris County Sheriff's Department, the Houston Police Department, our constables, and even the surrounding counties, Montgomery County, in Waller County, and Chambers County, to address these issues. Just recently, a lot of the media was here in Montgomery County. When we had a press conference over jugging. There was an uptick in jugging, and we came together as a group, law enforcement, and said, how we have to address this, like we've done so many times over and over on using proven strategies. Today, jugging in Harris County, Montgomery County are almost non-existent. But we had a tremendous amount of success, a lot of arrests, and some of these new judges that are in place, and some of these new laws, and increasing the penalties for jugging, making a felony, and giving us additional tools to where if we stop somebody and they have the tools, we can arrest them before they commit the crime. And so just a huge success. But you know what we identified through that operation is what we see time and time again, it's repeat offenders. Just in the last month, right in this area right here in Cypress, Texas, we had 3 thugs followed an 84-year-old man from a bank to his house and robbed him of $600. They broke his hip. The Harris County Sheriff's Department responded, teamed up with DPS. We arrested all 3 thugs, and guess what? Every one of them had prior convictions. Some of them specifically for targeting elderly people and following them home from a bank. So again, right here in Spring, Texas, within the last 3 weeks, very similar case, followed somebody home, robbed them of their money. When we arrested the suspect in that case, he had 17 prior arrests. We know this small population that's driving the violent crime, we know who they are. This task force is going to go after them. There's several things you'll see in this task force, and the governor laid it out very well. Crime is trending in the right direction, but we have an opportunity to make Houston and Harris County, the greater Houston area, the safest county in the nation. We know who these thugs are. So what you'll see is, number one, you'll see an increased uniform presence in patrol operations in high crime areas. Saturated patrols reduce crime 1,000% of the time. We've seen it in Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, and Austin. But what you're not going to see is the covert operations going after these thugs. Some of them, they're repeat offenders. That's what they do. After 17 arrests in violent crimes, you don't go get a job and start going to church on Sunday. They're thugs. We're going to target them and make sure they're not re-offending. In addition to that, we're going to make sure that they're in compliance, whether they're on bond, probation, or parole. We're going to make sure that they're in compliance with those rules and regulations. We've got a Homeland Security Division in Austin, Texas, that's putting together a target list of who to target. And I can tell you, nobody does it better than these agencies behind us. When we come together as a team and use all of our resources to address these issues, 1,000% of the time we have success. It's trending in the right direction. We're gonna make it much better in the coming days. So thanks to our partners for being here. There's no bigger priority in Texas for us. We're always prioritizing threats, and you know, how many murders is acceptable in Houston, Texas? I think, you know, we talk about what is success. I don't think we will ever achieve the level of success that we want, but if we can cut it in half, that's a start. So
thank you very much. Now Ray Hunt with HPOU.
I'm not sure what's left to say after this, but let me just say that the 55% number, I think, is extremely conservative. I think that I can't recall the last time that we had a violent offender that was arrested that we didn't hear that person was on parole, probation, was on outstanding bonds or something. So just know that repeat offenders are our number one problem. I represent the rank and file here today. Our Assistant Chief, Jessica Anderson, behind me represents the Chief Noe Diaz, who couldn't be here today. But let me tell you that the work that we do with these agencies behind me and with DPS, I can't recall, especially since Mayor Whitmire got elected mayor, when a phone call wasn't made to DPS to ask for assistance that we did not have troopers in our city within minutes, literally within minutes, to help us to deal with problems. The relationship that we have with Precinct 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, with the Harris County Sheriff's Office and with DPS is phenomenal. And the fact that we're focusing on these repeat offenders is exactly who we should be focusing on. There was a repeat offender almost a year ago in November. His name was Carlos Chavez, who committed road rage murder on the freeway in Houston, killing a man and injuring a small child with a pistol. He was out on multiple felony bonds. The judges got the point that this person is a continued problem. As the colonel said, he's not going to work when he leaves there. He's going to continue robbing people. That person was put into Harris County Jail on a very, very high bond. He has not been released yet. He's awaiting trial, and our trial docket is starting to go down. This governor's appointed 9 Republican judges in Harris County since in the last 3 or 4 years. We have another one open today, by the way. And those bring down the dockets. The faster you can get to trial on a felony, the more likely these thugs are to plead out and take their 35-year sentence or their 40-year sentence. Prior to that, what would happen was, if you knew it was going to be 6 years before you were going to go to trial, and you knew that you had a magistrate, not elected by the people, setting your bond at little to nothing, why do you want to even think about making a deal with the state? You're going to sit there and for 6 more years, you're going to terrorize Houston, you're going to terrorize Harris County. There was no incentive. Now they're starting to get the message. And just because we're trending downward, if we let off the gas now, we're going to go straight back up. So this initiative that the governor has brought forward is exactly what we need in Houston, Harris County. I want to thank you for everything you've done for law enforcement. Chief Anderson and I are in the legislature every session. Never, ever have we come to you or the leadership and asked for something for police officers that it wasn't delivered. It means a lot for us to know that someone has our back. It's a thankless job sometimes. Sometimes you think no one cares about you. When you have leadership in the city and the state and now in the federal government that supports us, it's a big morale booster to our officers. So this initiative should make things better in Houston, not just today, but also in the years to come. So thank you for being here today. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Listen, we're dealing with a target-rich environment. We know who these criminals are, who these repeat offenders are. We're going to locate them, find them, arrest them, and put them behind bars and make the streets of Houston even safer. Take a few questions.
Governor, can I pick up on something Mr. Hunt said? Talk about the collaboration with the city. Can you talk about your collaboration with Mayor Whitmire on public safety? And I have a follow-up.
So I've talked to Mayor Whitmire about public safety at least a half a dozen times.
And as you probably know, he's a mayor who cares a lot about public safety, has made sure that his police department, as well as other law enforcement in the area, are tackling the problem. He's proud of the fact that crime is going down, but understands there's a lot more to get done.
And then, how much is this press conference preemptive or a signal to the Trump administration that you've got things under control in Texas, you've got things under control in the largest city, and we don't need any kind of National Guard coming in here like they've gone to Memphis or other cities?
So, for one, there's never been any threat or any assertion that that may be happening in Texas, because the president does know that I, as governor, as well as our local law enforcement, that we're very committed to this. This is an obligation all of us in leadership have every single day, and that's to wake up and find ways that we can make our community safer, and that's exactly what we are achieving today.
I understand that this initiative is going to beef up law enforcement in the area, but can you explain more about how this is going to target repeat offenders in the city?
Sure. So to give you the most details about that, I'll defer to Director Freeman Martin.
Sure. We will only have so many personnel and resources, and we're going to focus them on these violent offenders. So for us, specifically for DPS, we will pull troopers from surrounding counties that would normally be working everybody's got a full-time job. They work something. But we're going to leverage the tag. We're going to refocus our resources on what's most important, and that's these violent offenders. And when you talk about the governor and the mayor, I can tell you it is seamless. We work so many operations with the Houston Police Department, the Harris County Sheriff's Department, and Constable Herman, these behind us in the surrounding counties, that it's really seamless. They share their data. We share our data. We do heat maps. We know where the violent crimes happen. We know when it's happening. It's intelligence directed. We'll saturate patrols. But in that, there's always the investigative piece and the detectives that are working behind the scenes and looking at who are our violent offenders. What do they drive? Where are they at? When's the last time? When did they get out of jail? Who are they hanging with? What gangs? And nobody does a better job than they do in Harris County. Houston PD started 25 years ago collecting data on gang and gang members. Me, as a Texas Ranger back in those days, I would go to Houston PD and say, hey, I'm working a violent crime out here in Waller County. This is my suspect. Oh, that guy lives over here. He's part of this gang, and this is who he runs with. We know who they are. We just got to, there'll be covert surveillance on them. There will be intelligence. The ones that have warrants are easy because we'll just go get them. And that's a large portion of them. There's other that we know they're in violation of their bond, probation, or parole. We'll get warrants on them, and we'll go get them. Others that we don't know what they're doing, there's covert surveillance, and we'll find out what they're doing. And that's how we find a lot of these. I don't want to give up all of our operational stuff, but that's how we find juggers. That's what they do. So if we're watching them and they're casing out a bank, we know what's about to happen. And thankfully for the governor and the legislature and some of these new laws, we can get them traffic stopped before they commit the crime. And if they're in possession of certain tools, we charge them with a felony before somebody is a victim. So that's what right looks like. And there's a lot more. And I'll let Ray.
Can I piggyback on that for a minute?
Sure.
Specifically, SB 9, which was filed this last legislative session that you just signed into law, just worked in Houston, Texas last week. We had a repeat offender, had just been released back in the end of August on the same offense that he was committing again this time. We arrested this person on this felony. He was taken in front of a magistrate, but the magistrate could not set his bond because SB 9 no longer lets an appointed magistrate do that. It has to go, when someone's got a warrant out for their arrest, it has to go back to the court where that warrant's in. So it went back to that court. Well, guess what? That judge, and she happens to be a Democrat, set a no bond hearing for him in the next 2 weeks. So he's sitting in jail right now and will stay in jail until that no bond hearing is heard. And I'm confident that either he's going to get no bond or a very, very high bond, which means he's not going to be out terrorizing all of you for at least the next 3 weeks and hopefully for a lot longer, because we hope he put him in jail and then he goes to TDC for a long time.
Just one last thing to further answer your question. It's a concentration of resources. Where DPS and other law enforcement, we concentrate resources on attacking a specific problem. You've heard Director Freeman Martin talk about jugging, how we concentrated resources and had success there. We also worked with local law enforcement to address road rage and other problems on I-45 North, and it led to a decrease in crime in that area. This is just a replication of efforts that we have already seen success on when we concentrate the resources, and then when you combine that with the tools and information that they have, that they don't want to give away the details about, but they have tools and information that will allow them to specifically target who they want to go after to make sure we will be able to get to that repeat offender before that repeat offender will be able to get to their next victim.
I'm also curious about why you chose Houston. So Houston has about 5,000 HPD
Sure. So as I have said, and Freeman has said, and Ray Hunt has said, we have a good working relationship that's long established. And so this is a project that I do want to take elsewhere in the state. But because of the effective and proven and historic relationship that already exists, I thought this was a good place to start. And then we will learn and be able to modify our strategies based upon what we do here, and then be able to deploy our best strategies to other areas across the state. Know this, and that is, as governor, I care about crime in all 254 counties. And so we will be taking this to large counties, but also to small counties. You know, on a percentage basis, because of what happened earlier this year, the crime rate in Houston County may be higher than it is in Houston, Texas, the city. And Houston County, of course, is a small area. My point is this. It could be rural Texas, urban Texas, suburban Texas. We will look at every corner of the state to make sure we are making it as safe as possible.
Governor, one question. The mayor is not here, the county judge, the sheriff, or the police chief are not here. I can't ask them, but I want to ask you, is this an initiative that you asked them or that they asked to bring to the city, especially since our crime rate is down? So why
Sure.
now?
So for one, I've been talking to the mayor about things like this for a while now. I talked to him about this a couple of days ago, and he said that he was not going to be able to be here. It's my understanding that he's out of town today. And so you can tell by the fact that we have a good presence from Houston Police Department leadership. Listen, they're invested in this, and they too want to see crime go down. And yes, the mayor is pleased with the fact that crime is going down, but none of us are happy unless crime is zero. And so we all know we have a long way to go in this targeted approach that we've done successfully with Houston Police Department under Mayor Wetmire, but also under prior mayors, has proven to be successful. We want to replicate that with what we consider to be the most dangerous criminals, and those are repeat offenders. Sure.
Like, you already have all these task forces, regional task forces. Like, what changes with this initiative? Is more money going to overtime? Are you bringing more people into the task force?
Yeah, so I mean, there are task forces that may achieve their goal, and hence the effort and resources are not being put into those specific task forces. And it goes back to what I was saying moments ago. This is going to be a concentrated effort where at the DPS level, this is going to be one of our primary focuses of operation to make sure that this area and this cause are going to have the resources that are going to be needed to target and to apprehend and to remove from the streets these most dangerous criminals who are the repeat offenders. And then in addition to adding the personnel to it, is deploying enhanced strategy, some of which is new, some of which is already proven, to make sure we will be able to identify and find the people that we're looking for.
2 more questions, folks.
Yeah.
Isn't the issue that we have these repeat offender problems because of judges that are releasing them back out onto the streets?
So
Is that a major factor in contributing to this repeat offender problem?
no doubt, the release of dangerous criminals by judges in Harris County is a contributing factor at a minimum, maybe more than that. And that's exactly why I made as one of my top priorities this past session to pass laws as well as a constitutional amendment that would reform the bail process to prohibit and make it more difficult for the local judges, in particular in Harris County, from releasing these dangerous criminals back out onto the street only to kill somebody else. As I said then, I'll repeat now. In the Houston area alone, over just a year or two, there have been hundreds of people who lost their lives, who were murdered by someone who had previously committed another murder, released by the judge only to murder again. I'll repeat one example, a man named Austin Collette. Austin Collette was not only arrested for murder, he pleaded guilty to murder. And he was a confessed killer, only awaiting his sentencing. And the judge, as opposed to keeping him behind bars during the sentencing, the judge let him back out on the streets. While he was out on the streets awaiting sentencing, he murdered a 23-year-old woman here in Harris County. That is horrific. And that's one reason why we were able to get the reforms passed during the session that Ray Hunt has already made reference to. But we're not done yet. There's more to be achieved with regard to reforming the judiciary and the rules with regard to bail to make sure that we keep behind bars those who pose an imminent danger to our community. I know, but there's other people that.
Can you say how long the task force will actually be in the Houston area? And I know you mentioned high crime areas within the city. Can you talk about what those high crime areas are? And then at what point you know the task force has kind of done its job and may not be needed as much?
So you had three questions, and the first and last are co-related. So there's no. It's not like we're going to be here for 1 week, 1 month, or 60 days. There's no predefined term right now how long it will last. One thing we want to do, we want to see results, and that goes, I think, to your second question, and that is, what do we define as a high crime area? Without going into all the cards in the deck of DPS and local law enforcement, the reality is this: because of the criminal records, we know, for the most part, all of who the repeat offenders are. We know where they are for the most part. And so we're able to target them, by zip code, by address, whatever the case may be, and find ways of dealing with them that I will not disclose right now that will enable law enforcement to try to get to them and maybe arrest them and get them off the streets before they get to their next victim.
Thank you, everyone. Governor, just to be clear, they're not going to be patrolling a specific area, right? They're just going to be targeting those.
So to be clear, and Freeman Martin made reference to this, there will be additional patrols in certain areas, but that will be done on a case-by-case basis, a day-by-day basis, based upon facts on the ground.